DreAllDay.com.
Tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all that, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves all of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of wait for things to happen. And then we put all this together to a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, techniques, mindsets, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is actually a question. The question is, what is your IQ? Yes, what is your IQ? Now, I do not mean your intelligence quotient. What I mean when I say IQ, what is your I quit? That is the question that you're going to answer here today. What is your I quit? What is the maximum that you can take? What is the level? How far can you go? How far can you be pushed before you quit? What is your limit? We're going to get into what that means and how you can measure yours and why it matters after these messages. First of all, let me tell you that you're going to get a daily motivation text straight from me, free of charge, to your phone from me every day if you just text me on my number, which is 305-384-6894. Send me a text at that number right now, 305-384-6894. Every day I will, for free, send you my daily motivation text message that is guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point every day. And here's a bonus, unadvertised bonus of the texting that you can do there, is that you can respond to any one of those text messages and you will be talking directly to me. That is me that sends those texts. That is me that replies to those texts. So yes, you are talking directly to me. That is not a computer system. It's not a bot. It's not a chat bot. It's not my assistant. That is actually Dre you are texting with. Ask one of your friends who's already texting me. They will tell you that yes, that really is Dre responding to those text messages. So text me at that number. It is listed down below also in the show notes. So with that said, let's get into what this topic is about. First of all, let's get a definition of this word quit. All right, because the topic here today is what is your IQ, standing for I quit. Quit means to cease normal, expected, or necessary action. Now, I heard this question, what is your IQ? I like to say I made it up, but I didn't make it up. I heard somebody say this probably about 20 years ago. I was at a business event, and this gentleman was, he was giving it was kind of like a motivational talk he was giving to an audience of people. And I've always known that this version of IQ, I quit, to be infinitely more important, an infinitely more important factor in someone's success than the other IQ, standing for your intelligence quotient, which is like the score of allegedly how smart you are. And yes, being smart does matter. It does matter to have knowledge. It does matter to have skills and abilities and aptitudes and all of that. So do not discount intelligence and being smart and knowing what the hell you're doing. That does matter. It's part of your game. At the same time, I have always firmly believed that a person's mental toughness, their persistence, their grit, their stick-to-itiveness, their willingness to keep going despite challenging circumstances is more of a barometer of their future success than just how smart they are. Because I've known a lot of smart people or highly resourced people. Sometimes that resource is intelligence. Sometimes that resource is money. That resource can be connections. That resource can be opportunity or luck. I've known people with a lot of resources who had no grit, no persistence, no mental toughness, and they blew all of that opportunity that was in their lap. But I've also known people who didn't have a ton of resources. At least they didn't start out with a ton of resources, let's put it that way, in terms of those same things, knowledge, skill, talent, connections. They didn't have a lot of those resources, but they had a high level of grit, persistence, mental toughness, and stick-to-itiveness, and they were able to create the resources for themselves simply because they never gave up, simply because they kept going. Now, I want you to understand here, let me throw a disclaimer in here, that if you have no skill, no resources, no knowledge, no ethical unfair advantage in a certain area, there's only so far you will be able to go, even if you have all the grit and mental toughness in the world. So don't take this message and misconstrue it to mean that if you have no resources and no ability whatsoever, that just if you just replace zero skill with 100% grit and mental toughness, that means you can become successful in anything. That is not true. I know your parents and your elementary school teachers and some whack motivational speaker told you that, but that is not the case. You want a combination of both of these. All right, so you need to find an area in which you have some skill, some ethical, unfair advantages, some talent, some resources, combine it with a high level of grit, perseverance, mental toughness, etc. That's when you become successful. Did everybody hear what I just said there? All right, because I don't want anybody getting that fucked up and coming to me saying, well, Dre, I don't have a lot of skill, but I got all this mental toughness and determination. Why am I not succeeding? It's because you have no skill. So do not misconstrue that message as to mean you can just completely replace one with the other. That is not true. You need a combination of both. So anyway, since I heard someone talk about this years ago, I never made an episode directly about it. I have mentioned this IQ concept in the past, but I never did a whole episode on it. So that's what we're doing here today. What is your IQ, aka your I quit? Point number one. Here's a simple question for you that you need to answer. You don't need to answer it to me. You need to answer it to yourself. How much can you take before you throw in your hand and quit? You don't need to answer this question immediately. You know, sometimes when I'm talking to people, sometimes it happens in my coaching program, sometimes it's when I'm texting with some of you, sometimes when, you know, just when I'm maybe even speaking to a live audience, I throw a question out there and people want to answer the question immediately. They want to immediately come up with an answer to the question. You don't need to answer this question immediately. This is one I want you to really think about, because I don't want you to give me an answer just because you think that's the answer that you should give, or it sounds like the right answer, or you think is the answer that will appease me. Because your answer to this question does nothing for me. Your answer to this question will do everything for you, however. So the question again is, how much can you take before you throw in your hand and quit? Because if you quit, it's not going to affect me nearly as much as it's going to affect you. Because you're the one who has to live with you. You're the one who has to live with the fact that you quit on whatever that goal was. You're the one who has to look in the mirror tomorrow and know that you're the person who quit on yourself. That has a lot more effect on you than it has on anybody else. Remember that 99% of your life is outside of your direct control. Despite how powerful you might feel, 99% of your life is outside of your direct control. What makes people successful, what makes somebody a high agency individual. And if you didn't hear my episode on being a high agency person, that was episode number 2053, how to be a high agency person. That's a person who has ownership over their life and over their circumstances. And that really starts with the way that you think. It has very much to do with the way you think, and a lot less to do with your physical resources, a lot less than most people think. It has to do with your physical resources, being a high agency person. A high agency individual is a person who understands that 99% of life is outside of their direct control. And despite that, they focus on the 1% that they can control. And they take full ownership over that 1%. And because they take full ownership over it, they have a high level of self-determinism when it comes to their success in life. I talked about self-determinism in episode 1259. Self-determinism, your measure of personal power. You want personal power. You accept that you don't control 99% of circumstances, but you take full control of the 1% that is remaining. And let me tell you how people become disempowered. How people disempower themselves and become low agency people and remain low agency people in life is very simple. They realize this equation that they don't control 99% of things, but instead of taking control of the 1% that they can do something about, you know what they do? They sit back, bitch, whine, complain, moan, and feel like victims over the fact that they can't control 99% of things. So do you notice the difference between the powered and the disempowered? Is one word. It's one of your 5 forms of investment that I talked about in episode 609. It is focus. What do you choose to focus on? Because you could focus on all the things that you can't control, 99% of things, or you could focus on all the things you can control, which is 1% of things. Which one do you choose to focus on? Key word there is choose. You have a choice where you want to focus. Powerful people are not necessarily smarter, better, faster, more intelligent. They don't necessarily have more resources than weak people or what I call losers. The only difference between them, for the most part, is what the powerful choose to focus on versus what the weaklings choose to focus on. And let me keep one thing in mind for everybody. I'm going to remind you of one thing everybody needs to keep in mind. You have a limitation of being able to focus on only one thing at a time. So you can choose to focus on what you can't control, or you can choose to focus on what you can control. What are you choosing to focus on? The last 24 hours of your life, what were you focused on? The things you can do or the things you can't do? What were you focused on? What other people were doing or saying towards you, or not doing or saying to or for you, or what you are capable of doing and saying to or for yourself? Where's your focus? I'll tell you something that I know to be true 100%. Powerful people simply spend more of their time focused on what they control than non-powerful people, less powerful people. Simple as that. You might think it can't possibly be that simple. I guarantee you that it is. Try it and then tell me I'm wrong. Your ultimate success is determined by what you choose to focus on. The secret is when you take full ownership of that 1%, because 1% is not a lot compared to 99%. I think we can all agree to that. When you take full ownership of that 1%, though, here's what happened. Here's the magic trick. Your ability to influence that 99% increases dramatically when you take full ownership of the 1%. Let me say that one more time. I want to make sure you caught it. When you take full ownership of the 1% that you have control over, your ability to influence that 99% increases dramatically. But understand that this equation works in the exact order that I just laid it out. You don't get ability to influence 99%, then you go control the 1%. No, you go first. You jump first, take control of the 1% that you have control over, then you get more power to do something about the 99%. That's how it works. Most people, however, never experience this feeling. Some people who are listening to me right now know what I'm talking about. Some of you live this out on a day-to-day basis. Many people, though, have no idea what I'm talking about right now, because this package is an if-then deal. And you have to take control of the 1% first before the 99% is even listening. It won't even take your call if you don't take control of the 1% first. And even if all you do for the 1% is just adjust your mindset, that is taking control of it. As I've told you over and over again, you can always do something about a situation, even if the only something you can do is changing the way that you think about the situation. That's something. That's a big something. Most people never take control of that 1%, so they never get influence over the 99%. These are the people you see looking at themselves as victims, as whiners, complainers, bitches, and moaners, talking about all the things that they have no control over simply because they never took control over it and never focused on the things that they can do something about. And this is how they become and stay victims. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is what is your IQ, standing for I quit. Number 2, I know a lot of skilled, smart, and well-meaning people who achieve or have achieved, past tense, far less than they could or should, simply because they have so little mental toughness and so little internal fortitude. A whole lot of them. I've seen more people come up short in their endeavor, I've seen more people come up short in their endeavors due to a lack of grit, persistence, and mental toughness, much more than I've seen people come up short due to a lack of resources, time, knowledge, connections, information. The usual excuses that people give when they don't achieve what they want to achieve. Those are usually not the reason. The reason that people can logically say that those are the reasons why they came up short is simply because they did not exercise enough resourcefulness and mental toughness and grit and persistence to do the things that would have led to them having more of the resources that became ultimately the story that they tell themselves for why they didn't achieve their outcome. Now, this is not to say that everyone can achieve anything if they just stay persistent and have grit and mental toughness and combine it with skill. But it is saying that anyone can achieve anything if they just stick to their guns and they have grit, mental resources, resourcefulness, mental toughness, and combine it with some skill. All right, make sure you have some skill in there. Don't ever misconstrue my message as you can have no skill and just all toughness and you'll succeed. That's not true. Most people just quit very easily. In episode 1103, I talked about the greatness equation. And there is a certain equation to becoming great in life, and you must have the elements of the equation in order to become great. If you're missing the element, you can't become great. In short, you should listen to the entire episode so you understand it in context. But in short, to become great, you need a combination of ability and mentality. Notice that key word, and, both. Everyone has ability at something. Some people just choose the wrong things. In other words, many people go through life ignoring the areas in which they actually have ability, and they try to shoehorn themselves into areas in which they have no ability. Then they underachieve and they say, well, I'm not achieving in this area. Well, of course you're not achieving that area. You probably should never have been in that area in the first place. You took a wrong turn somewhere, looking at your skill set. You don't belong in this area. No wonder it's not working. This requires you to be honest with yourself about who you are, what you can do, what you can't do. Human beings, we are limited. We can't do everything. Nobody's great at everything. Nobody's good at everything. We can only focus on one thing at a time. Where are you focusing? And do you have the skill to create the level of return on investment in the area in which you are focusing? You have to be honest with yourself about that question. That's one that you shouldn't be looking at other people to answer for you. That's one you got to answer for yourself. There are a lot of people who are walking around life right now trying to force themselves into being good at something that they simply do not have the aptitude to be good at. And the challenge is, the tragedy of this is, by the time some people finally admit that they're in the wrong place, the opportunity to go to the right place is greatly diminished, if not completely disappeared. Everyone has ability at something. This is a fact. Some people are just choosing the wrong thing. Some consciously, some unconsciously. Either way, you're losing time. It doesn't matter whether you did it on purpose or not. Understand that mindset, however, is available to everybody who wants it. Now, this is something that you have to work at. Mindset is not something that just comes to you for most of us. It's something that you have to be conscious about. You have to do something to get that mindset. You are doing something right now. Listen to the show. Hopefully you're taking notes and actually reviewing and applying the things that you hear, not just listening to it and saying that was a great episode and moving on and forgetting everything that I said by the next morning. Mindset is available to everybody. I give you the game every day right here on the show. In other words, everyone has the opportunity to be great, because I just told you being great is a combination of ability and mindset. So since mindset is available to everybody, I'm giving it to you right here on the show, and everyone has ability at something. You just have to find out what you have ability at. There is no excuse for you not being great. I want that one to sink in. Greatness is a combination of ability and mindset. I'm giving you mindset. Anyone can get it. You have ability. You just have to identify where your ability's at. Therefore, you have no excuse and no reason to not be great at something. So anyone who's not being great, there's something that you don't know or something you have not yet done that is causing that situation. It is all about the decisions that we make. That's the bottom line of anybody's life, is just an accumulation of decisions that you have made or not made. And I'll give you a note here. When I say quitting, we talk about what is your IQ for quitting. Quitting does not just mean walking away or not showing up to something. A lack of discipline is a form of quitting. If you're really good at something, but you don't have the discipline to show up every day and do the work, as I say in the introduction to the show, every single day, if you don't have the grit and the consistency to do things the same way, the same things the same way every time, as I talked about in episode 2023, if you're not doing this, that's a form of quitting. Because you know it takes discipline to get good at this thing, but you're not executing the discipline. That is a form of quitting. Even though you're actually coming to the job every day, you're still quitting because you're not doing what's necessary. Not following protocol is quitting. When there's a specific process that you know produces results, but you refuse to follow that process, that is a form of quitting. Making bad ancillary decisions. In other words, making decisions that hinder your ability, making decisions around the main thing to hinder your ability to do the main thing is a form of quitting. For example, if you tell yourself you're going to wake up at 5 days a week at 5 in the morning and go to the gym so you can get in shape for the summer, but you keep staying up till 12 in the morning, you keep drinking at night and eating bad food that you know is not going to help you feel good in the morning, and then you keep missing your 5 a.m. workouts, that is a form of quitting because you know exactly what you're doing. You know that you're making bad ancillary decisions. See, what you do the night before is an ancillary decision to how easily you can wake up the next morning. Everybody understand what I'm saying? All of these are a form, when you look in the mirror, of quitting, because you know that you are hindering yourself. Some of you call this self-sabotage. It's the same thing. Anything that you consciously and consistently do that goes against the system that you know would create your success is a form of quitting on yourself. You're not quitting on anybody else, you're quitting on yourself. Because you know that doing this is a violation of the process that will help you get results. But you keep doing it anyway? Or what are you doing? You tell me what you call it. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is what is your IQ? It stands for I quit. Number 3, how willing are you to fight back against the shit that life will inevitably throw at you? Remember that 99-to-1 ratio that I told you earlier, and that I will continue to tell you as we move forward on the future of the show. Life is going to throw some shit your way. Some of you are ducking and dodging from some shit right now. Some of you are in the midst of eating what I call the shit sandwich. That was I think it was episode 1616. Let me make sure I'm giving you the right one. 1663. Your favorite flavor of shit sandwich. What is that? That means anything you do in life, there's a shit sandwich that you have to eat. No matter what you do, even if it produces in the end a great outcome, there's a shit sandwich you have to eat in order to get there. Life is going to throw some shit at you. It's going to put some shit sandwiches on your plate, and you must eat them in order to achieve success. The question is, how willing are you to deal with the shit that life throws at you? You cannot avoid it. You cannot duck it and dodge it. You must deal with it. The question is, how will you deal with it? Not if, how will you deal with it? I talked about this in the episodes on fighting back. Episode 2066, how much fight do you have? Episode 2094, how to fight back in life. A lot of success in life, honestly, is just your willingness to fight back and keep showing up and dealing with tough shit in an area in which you have ability. A smaller amount of success in life after that grit and mental toughness is how much skill, how much strategy, and all the details that usually this is what people focus on. People aren't achieving the outcomes that they want. They usually focus on these detailed things, right? I don't have the right skill. I don't have the right strategy. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to begin. I don't have a plan. I don't have the information. Nobody's helping me. I don't know the right people. I don't have the connections. Some of you, I just listed your reasons for not achieving the outcomes that you want right now in life. Some of you, I just listed exactly what your problem is, at least according to you. But let me tell you what your real problem is, if you have one, is your unwillingness or the fact that you have not yet fought back often enough and continually showed up enough to deal with the shit that is going on in your life. And then the symptoms of it, the symptoms of this unwillingness, the symptoms of the fact that you haven't followed through enough yet is that you don't have the information, the connections, the people, the resources, the knowledge, the help, the et cetera, all the logical stuff that sounds good and that you're willing to tell people about. Nobody ever comes up to me and says, Dre, you know what? The reason I'm not succeeding in life is because I have an unwillingness to fight back and an unwillingness to keep showing up and dealing with tough shit. Usually people don't say that. Usually they say, Dre, I don't have enough information. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know the right people. That's usually what people say. And some of you, I'm mimicking your very words to you right now. Tell me I'm lying. Most of success is mental toughness in an area in which you have ability. So you need to know yourself, you need to know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know what you're good at, know what you're not good at, and be honest with yourself about it. Stop bullshitting yourself about what you're good at and what you're not good at. This is another challenge that a lot of people have. Usually the older they get, the less people keep bullshitting themselves. Usually by the age of about 30, 35, people stop bullshitting themselves about what they're actually good at. But there are some exceptions. But when you're clear about what you're good at, now it's really just a matter of stick-to-itiveness and showing up. Because the information is available. I mean, there's nobody whose real problem is a lack of information. A smaller amount after that is skill, strategy, and all the details. Not that they don't matter, but it's smaller than your ability to just show up and be where you're supposed to be to get what you need, do what you need to do so you can have what you want to have. All that said, let's recap today's class, which is what is your IQ, which is not your intelligence quotient. This stands for I quit. What is your I quit? Definition of quitting is to cease normal, expected, or necessary action. I heard somebody say this years ago, and I have always believed that this IQ, I quit, is a more important factor in someone's success than the other IQ, which is their intelligence. I think grit and mental toughness can take you further than intelligence and resources. Point number one, simple question. How much can you take before you throw in your hand and quit? Simple question. With 99% of life outside of your direct control, it is how much of that remaining 1% you choose, keyword choose, to take ownership of that determines your ultimate success. The secret is when you take full ownership of that 1%, your ability to influence the remaining 99% increases dramatically, but this is a package deal, but it works in a specific order. It's an if-then package. If you take control of the 1%, then you can influence the 99%, and it must happen in that order. Point number two. I know a lot of skilled, smart, and well-meaning people who have achieved far less than they could or should because they lack mental toughness and they lack internal fortitude. The greatness equation is very simply a combination of ability and mindset. Not one, not the other, both. Some people, everybody has ability at something. Some people just choose the wrong things. And mindset is available to everybody. I'm giving you the game every day right here on this show. Therefore, everyone has the opportunity to be great. Therefore, everyone has the moral obligation to be great because you have an ability at something and the mindset is available to you via the Work on Your Game ecosystem, starting with the show that you're listening to right now. So when you quit on yourself, it's not just not showing up and not doing something. Not having discipline is quitting. Not following your protocol is quitting. Making bad ancillary decisions is quitting. Anything that you consciously or consistently do that goes against the system that would create success for you is a form of quitting because you know exactly what you're doing. And some of you might call this self-sabotage. I just call it quitting because you know exactly what you're doing and you're stopping yourself from your own success. Why are you doing it? I talked about a possible fear of success in my book, Work on Your Game. If you have not read it, get it by going to workonyourgamebook.com. Point number 3, how willing are you to fight back against the shit that life throws at you? Episode 1663, I told you that you have to choose your favorite flavor of shit sandwich. There's no way you can go through life without eating a whole bunch of them, and you better develop your appetite. It's an acquired taste like beer, but you better get used to it because you're going to be eating a lot of them. Life is going to throw some shit your way. The question is, how will you choose to deal with it? Not if you will deal with it, how will you deal with it? Talked about this in the episodes on fighting back, episodes 2066 and 2094. A lot of success in life is your willingness to fight and keep showing up and dealing with tough shit in areas in which you have ability. And a smaller amount after that is skill, strategy, and all the details, the usual things that people use as their reasons for not achieving their outcomes, but are not the real reasons. They're the good reasons, but not real reasons. All that said, send me a text. Get my daily motivation text free of charge straight to your phone every day. My number is 305-384-6894. And when you're ready to get coached by me, you're ready to take things to another level. And there's levels to this shit. Even in the Work on Your Game world, it starts with getting the free text. It starts with getting the masterclass you're listening to right now. The next step is to get into the books. The next step is to get into the courses like my Bulletproof Mindset 2.0 course. The next step is the coaching programs. You get those at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Workonyourgameuniversity.com. There's a group coaching, Bulletproof Mastermind, one-on-one coaching, 3rd-day mastermind. You can join or sign up for a call respectively for either one at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.